guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Gillian and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about whether or not I think kids should eat a raw vegan diet. I'm so excited for this topic, and I have a lot of personal experience with this topic as well, and I've also done a lot of research on it. So I'm really excited to share my thoughts with you guys and hear your thoughts down below in the comment section as well. Let's get started. Give this video a big thumbs up right now. And I want to start out by saying I've never shared with you guys yet, but I actually am a children's book author as well. This is a great book that I think a lot of you might be interested in. It is Princess Papaya's ABCs of Happy Foods, and it teaches the kids A to Z about real foods and how happy they make them feel. So real foods like avocado, jackfruit, papaya. It has some quizzes in it and stuff like that as well, and it's just a great informative book, and it's great for a variety of ages because the young kids can point and learn about the foods, and the older kids around 6, 7, 8, or even 5 can learn to read with the text that also teaches them. This is a really good book. I actually read it at my daughter's school when I first wrote it a couple years ago, and I was shocked how many kids didn't recognize so many of the foods. I brought props and a lot of them didn't even recognize a cantaloupe. I do feel like we need to get more books like this in the hands of our kids and help teach them what real foods are. It is not necessarily a vegan or a raw vegan book. It doesn't mention that in it. It's just a general book that teaches kids about these foods. And I definitely feel like if they see these foods and learn about them, they're more inclined to want to try them, and they'll recognize them at the grocery store, maybe point them out, want to buy them, and try them. I can't recommend it enough. It is available at most places online, Barnes & Noble, Chapters, Amazon. It's available all over, and it's under my married name, which is Gillian Alcorn. So I've since gone back to my Barry name, which you know from the channel. That was my birth name, and it makes more sense for me because I was born with the name Barry, and I'm a raw vegan. Also, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I want to give away 3 copies of this book in this video. So comment down below if you would like one, and I will select 3 people at random and ship them out to you guys free of charge. Before I talk about whether or not I personally think kids should be raw vegan, I want to let you guys know whether or not my kids are raw vegan. If you watch my channel, you know that I am a 5-year raw vegan. It's been over 5 years now, and I love this diet. It has been like a new life for me, and I absolutely thrive on it, and I know so many other people do as well. It's why I created this channel. I am so passionate about it. If you watch my channel, you know all that, and a lot of people ask me lately, are your kids raw vegan? So I want to start with that, and I do have 2 kids. One of my kids is 2, Victoria, she's amazing, and my other daughter is 9. Her name is May, and she is incredible as well. My 9-year-old, when I first had her, I was not following a raw vegan diet. I was eating a standard American diet that was somewhat healthy, but also a lot of things that weren't so healthy. By the time I became raw vegan, when she was about 4 or so, I guess, I did implement a lot more raw living foods into her diet, and I found it was quite easy at that time. But I didn't push a vegan or raw vegan diet on her. Her dad was not vegan, and she didn't seem to want to be, so I didn't push it. Recently though, about 2 months ago, she started expressing to me that she does want to become vegan on her own. And like I said, it's something I decided not to push on her or force her to do. So she's now decided to do that on her own. So we've kind of been navigating that path. And I'm going to talk a little bit more later in this video about kids and just the attitude maybe we should take with foods and all that, because I think sometimes the more we push it, a certain lifestyle or a certain health conscious lifestyle on them, the more they kind of want to go the other way. That's where my 9-year-old is at, and she's healthy, thriving, doing amazing. And my 2-year-old Victoria, she's healthy, thriving, doing amazing as well. And I have made videos about Victoria's story before, and my pregnancy and everything as well, and the supplementing. But I do want to say that when I had her, before I had her, it was my greatest dream in this world to have this healthy, raw vegan baby. And I thought, it has changed my life so much. This is what it should be for everybody. And I had an amazing pregnancy. It was mostly raw vegan, and an amazing, it was a hard birth, but I had her at home. It was an amazing experience, no drugs. And she was perfect, smiling, happy from the start. And in her first year of life, it was great. But then when it came time for her to eat the foods and start getting introduced to foods, she just simply didn't want to eat much of the raw foods. And she in no way was eating the quantities required for her body to thrive and grow at that time. So if we had continued with that path, it would have been very, very bad. So we had to go with the flow with what was going on and recognize that this had to change. And she therefore didn't go down a raw vegan path. I learned a lot from this experience. Like I said, it was my absolute intention to have my daughter raw vegan because I know how much power and life these raw foods have. But we had to change course. And I know from a lot of research I've done, I don't know the specific cases or what they did, but there are cases where they try the raw vegan diet with kids and there can be problems. So I feel like our planet is not like how it was back in the day when the kids were playing in the soil, you're eating from the garden, you're getting the B12 there, and you're maybe getting enough that way. We have to look at how the planet is right now and what to do right now. And right now, I personally think in a lot of cases, a raw vegan diet, unfortunately, doesn't work for kids. I feel like I wish it did, and if you had cases where, if you personally have a case where it has and the child has thrived, or no cases of those, I commend you. I think it's incredible and amazing. That was nothing more than my dream, and I would love to hear your stories if you want to comment them down below. But I think the reason it doesn't work in a lot of cases is because, like I said, the soils and our foods have changed. We're not outdoors as much, in the dirt, making sure we're getting all the nutrients, because it's B12 and it's also other things as well that we have to think about, especially for their growing body. I mean, there's zinc, DHA, there's just so many other things. It's not even just the B12. It's different for our bodies and it's easy to get those supplements, but for growing kids, and especially someone when they first come into life and when they first start eating foods in the first few years, I think we have to be even more careful, and those are even more sensitive times than someone who's maybe 9, like someone like May, my daughter, who's around the age of 9. I think maybe it's more possible to transition at that age and to get everything and to make sure they're eating the quantities. But when they first start eating food, if they're not eating enough calories and enough food, I think it's really important, something you need to pay attention to. And you need to do a lot of research first before you even decide if you're going to follow this path, and you need to ensure you're getting enough supplements. So like I said, I think it's really risky. We have to be really careful with our children because, okay, there is a lot of research and there are a lot of other cases where maybe they did do the raw vegan diet and there are certain trends that are there, like being underdeveloped, failure to thrive, and certain things. So again, I mean, I don't know everything. I don't claim to know everything. I'm not perfect at all. I'm just sharing my experience and what happened with my daughter and the research I've done. And again, if you have had experience with this where you've found ways to do it, I think that's amazing. And I'm not saying maybe necessarily it's totally wrong. Maybe there are ways people can do it and certain kids are thriving, and I think that's awesome. But from me and my experience and my research, in a lot of cases it doesn't work, and you have to be very, very careful. Like I said, there's just so many other nutrients, and a big part of it is the calories needed to thrive on this diet, especially for the growing body. It's different for our bodies, right? But especially for the growing body. That being said, I do think it is so important to introduce, regardless of what you do, to introduce as many fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds as you can into children's diet, especially at the youngest age possible. So if you haven't had children yet, if you have, you already know this probably, of course, but if you haven't had children yet, you realize with most kids, it's best to introduce as many foods as you can to them at the youngest age possible, because they will reach an age where if they don't recognize the food, they don't even want to try it. So my 2-year-old is starting to get like that, but fortunately I did introduce so many varieties of different foods to her when she was younger than this, even with her not being a raw vegan. So I've made sure to introduce like olives, which are good for her gut, sauerkraut, a lot of raw fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, because the fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, and all the different plant foods, they really feed the gut microbiome. And the gut microbiome is so important and so key to our health, and it really starts at birth. And it is so important to focus on that and just get as many fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds as you can into their bodies, even at a young age, and introduce them to this. And it really sets the stage for health for them later in life. I know so many people too who are in great health, even some of my raw vegan friends now, and they said part of the reason is because when they were kids, their mom would set green juice out every night or set salads out every night, and even at the time, if the mom didn't feel like it was working and the child wasn't always drinking it, they were paying attention, and it does matter and it does help them later on. Now I want to talk a little bit about our attitude around kids and whether or not we talk to kids about foods being good or bad. In my personal experience, I think the first couple years of being raw vegan and realizing just the effects the living foods had on my body, how it totally brought me to life, changed my life, and how if I would eat processed foods or other things, it was negative and it hurt me and then was kind of considered bad. So I think for the first little bit, I would treat things like with my oldest daughter, no, that's bad, I don't want you eating that, that's good. And I've really learned over the last year or so that maybe this is definitely not the best approach, because I've learned it just kind of makes her want to run the other way and could potentially give her issues with food later on in life, which is the last thing that I want to do. So I did have someone comment on my channel recently because she saw I was raw vegan. And I think she knew I had kids, but I wasn't expanding on anything, but she was commenting saying she had a really health conscious mother growing up, and the mother would label things good and bad. This is good, this isn't bad. And then she made sure to comment, which I thought was a really great point, to say make sure to parents and to myself or to anyone out there not to do that so much, because she grew up then seeing certain foods as bad and kind of developing almost a disorder around the food. So this has taught me, and I wanted to share with you guys, I think we have to be really careful how we tread around the subject of health foods. Being health conscious people, which I'm sure you're somewhat health conscious as well if you're watching this, whether you're raw vegan, vegan, whatever diet you do, I think we just have to be careful how we talk to our kids, how we treat the foods. And unfortunately, we don't live in a world where everything is healthy and everything is pure. My daughter goes to school, and I mean, it's a lot of hot dogs, processed foods. It's a lot of not so natural foods. And this is a very extreme diet in this day and age. I mean, I think it's the most natural diet and amazing, but most people do not eat this way. So we have to be careful, because totally pushing it or totally pushing our health beliefs on our kids, I feel like really pushes them the other way. So that's definitely been my experience. And I've noticed with my daughter, May, her best friend, when she comes over for dinner, her best friend is allowed to sort of eat whatever she wants, like candy, processed food, healthy food, anything. And then when her daughter comes over, she wants to eat all my healthy food, the olives, the quinoa, the chickpeas. Jill, can I have more raw veggies? I love it. And there's nothing I love more than getting these healthy foods for her friends. But it just makes me see that maybe when we give our kids more freedom like that and don't be so strict, that they'll be more inclined to choose the right foods and less inclined to sort of run the other way. So I'm still navigating that. I'm still learning that too. If you have any tips or comments, I would love to hear them down below. That's it for today. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely give it a like. And if you have any more questions or comments, definitely write them down below, and I'd be happy to reply to you guys. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.